Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist, where I try and find the silver linings in even the worst of films. Really quick, I want to go over this summer's movie slate and talk about what movies I think are going to hit and which movies I think are going to flop. Starting off first, we have the movie Friendship, starring Craig Waterman and Paul Rudd, where it's essentially I Love You Man, but like a dark comedy version of it, where these two guys wind up becoming best friends due to a chance encounter, but then after a couple times of hanging out, Paul Rudd decides he doesn't want to be this guy's friends anymore because he's a little weird, and Craig Robinson goes to really dark lengths to try and preserve this friendship. And the trailer alone makes it look like a comedy, but it also looks like it could be a horror movie. And look, this guy is hysterical. He's up and coming and on the rise as a really funny comedian. He has a really popular show on Netflix. Everyone loves Paul Rudd. I mean, he's such a talented actor, and a lot of people that saw this movie already think that it's really funny. But I think this movie's gonna tank. I don't see anybody talking about it. Paul Rudd alone isn't a box office draw. We saw that with Death of a Unicorn. We saw that with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And I think that in talking to a lot of people that have watched this trailer, people are confused by what it really is, and I think that it's gonna do moderate but wind up losing the studio money. This will be a miss. Then we have Final Destination: Bloodlines, which is a sequel to a really popular franchise that has been kind of dormant for the last decade or so. Now, I've never been a giant fan of the Final Destination films. I am not a fan of films where our heroes always meet their demise. For me, when I go to watch a film, I like to watch people be presented with an obstacle and then watch them overcome it. I like seeing the hero defeat the bad guy. I do not like watching movies where the entire film I'm watching these people struggle to survive just for them to not survive at the end. It's very underwhelming for me and not satisfying. That's not to say that these are bad movies, and that's not to say that horror movies where the hero dies at the end is a bad movie. I'm not saying that at all. A lot of people like that. A lot of people like when Freddy Krueger succeeds in the end, or Jason, or Michael Myers. It's just not for me, but I can't deny the fact that this is a really popular franchise and a lot of people love watching the inventive ways that these people get killed, and I 100% think that, especially because this movie has such a low budget, that this movie is going to be a massive hit for the studio. I will be seeing it just because I see everything, but I can't say I'm excited for it. I am in the vast minority in that area. Then we got the newest Jenna Ortega movie that's starring The Weeknd. It looks like a horror movie, and judging by the trailer, it looks like Jenna Ortega is like a crazy fan that abducts him and tortures him, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not very excited about this movie. I'm not a fan where pop stars get big leading roles in movies. Just because they have a wonderful voice doesn't mean that they can act, and plenty of times I've been proven wrong where people have made the transition. Look at Ariana Grande. I mean, yes, she started on Disney Channel, but I wouldn't say that's like a masterclass in acting. Went on to become a very popular singer, only to turn in a very good performance in Wicked, where her comedic chops were impeccable, and I am now very excited to see what she does next. This could happen with this movie, but just based off the trailer, they're not selling me on it. I'm gonna see it because I'm a movie critic, and that's what I do. I go to see everything to critique it, but I'm not excited, and I do think that this movie is going to be a flop because based off of everybody that I talk to, nobody's excited to see this film, which is a shame because I really love Jenna Ortega and want her to get her flowers. Then we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the final Mission Impossible film. I love this franchise wholeheartedly. It's single-handedly keeping real practical stunts in movies alive, along with David Leitch after just giving us The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. Those two and Christopher McQuarrie, the director of Mission Impossible, they all really care about practicality. So I'm always going to show up to see a movie like this, but I can't deny the fact that the Mission Impossible franchise has been on decline. The last movie lost money. Now, to be fair, the last movie was filmed during the pandemic, so the production budget of the movie skyrocketed because in order to keep things going, Tom Cruise had to rent a yacht to keep all the cast and crew on, to keep them away from the general public so that no one would get sick, so they could keep filming every day, and budget just ballooned, so it wasn't really fair. But Fallout made $700 million, and then Dead Reckoning Part 1 wound up making $500, and I have to imagine the trajectory is heading down, and it just seems like people don't really care that much about this franchise. So I think that this movie will make anywhere between $400 and $500 million, but this also has a $300 something million production budget because of how much intensity goes into the dedication to detail with the practical effects. Doing these stunts for real is very expensive, and again, due to trajectory, I just don't think it's gonna work. I think that this is gonna be a flop. Thank God it's the final one, which means it won't be left on a cliffhanger, so at least I'll have closure for this character, but it really is disappointing seeing just how little people care about this movie, given that it's such a love letter to the art of filmmaking, and if you are a die-hard movie fan, I implore you to show up to support this film. Then we have The Phoenician Scheme starring Benicio del Toro. This is Wes Anderson's newest movie, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I have not liked a Wes Anderson movie since, I can't remember what came first, Isle of Dogs or The Grand Budapest Hotel. I think it was Isle of Dogs. I loved Isle of Dogs, and I loved The Grand Budapest Hotel. I love Moonrise Kingdom and The Life Aquatic. The Life Aquatic is actually my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but lately all of his films feel like Wes Anderson being too Wes Anderson-y. He's almost parodying himself at this point, where it just feels like he's leaning too much into his weirdness and he's not trying to make grounded movies anymore. The French Dispatch and Asteroid City were dreadfully boring and dull to me, and I know it has its fans, but Wes Anderson has just been on a decline, and since The Grand Budapest Hotel, none of his movies have made any money, and he's lost a lot of goodwill with a lot of people that were originally fans of him. Me and my buddy John, who's also a big movie fan, also don't really care to see this movie just because he hasn't done anything in the last 5, 6, 7 years that has impressed us. And again, even watching the trailer to this film, it looks good, but the trailer to all of his films always look good. I don't know who the trailer editors are, but they deserve an award for making these dull-ass movies look good. I'm gonna see it, and I hope it proves me wrong, but from what I hear in the movie space, a lot of people aren't excited about this. And again, Wes Anderson hasn't made money with any of his films since The Grand Budapest Hotel. I have no idea how he keeps getting budgets to keep making movies, but I think that this movie is gonna be a miss, which is unfortunate because he was such a great director, and I really wish he would just rein it back and give us more grounded stuff again like The Grand Budapest Hotel, but only time will tell. Then we got Bring Her Back, the newest movie from the Philippou brothers, which got their fame and fortune on YouTube, starting off on the Raka Raka channel, where they would do these really amazing skits with their friends that looked like movie quality fight scenes and stuff, and then Hollywood decided to give them a chance at making a feature-length movie with Talk to Me, and it was remarkable. It was one of A24's highest grossing films. It was an incredibly well-crafted horror film, and I can't help but be super excited to see where these guys go next, not only because Talk to Me was so good, but because I can't help but support these guys on their journey to becoming world-renowned directors. Again, they didn't go to college for filmmaking. They got their start making short films on YouTube. You're watching me on YouTube right now. I'm making videos for YouTube. I love YouTube, and the fact that this is a platform that can now put you on a pedestal in Hollywood is remarkable. It also happened with David F. Sandberg, who did the Shazam movies, who did Lights Out, who most recently did Until Dawn. He also got his start just making YouTube videos with his wife, and then they hand him the reins to make a Lights Out movie. Like, it's just incredible what this platform can do for you, so I'm always going to support them, but on top of that, people showed up to support them for Talk to Me, and I have no doubt people are going to show up again to support Bring Her Back. So I think it's going to be a hit. Then we got Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas, in this John Wick spinoff, and I truly believe that when this movie was originally conceived, it was solely going to be Ana de Armas being an absolute badass, but the early tracking and the word of mouth from fans became a little concerning, because then they brought Chad Stahelski back, and he brought back in John Wick to be in the movie with Ana de Armas, and on top of that, they're also saying that this isn't just a Ana de Armas movie, it is John Wick 2.5, where he is essentially one of the main characters in it, and I truly believe they did that because they realized, as amazing as Ana de Armas is, and as excited as I am to show up to watch it, people just don't care to show up to see these movies if John Wick isn't in it, and that's clearly why they brought him back. And since they've done that and added him back in, it seems that people are now getting excited to see the Baba Yaga make his return after what happened in the events of John Wick 4, and it certainly got me more excited. I love Keanu Reeves in this role. It's one of my favorites of his. But even with John Wick coming back, people know it's not his vehicle. It's not him in the front row seat. It's Ana de Armas here. And I think that this movie is gonna do okay. I don't think it's gonna flop exponentially, but I don't think it's gonna be a $450 million earner the way that John Wick 4 was. I think that this movie's gonna fall somewhere in the middle at around 200 to 250 million, which is a modest success, but it's not gonna be a hit. But again, overall, I think it'll do okay. If nothing else, it'll be a good appetizer until we get John Wick 5, which was just recently announced, thank God. Then we got The Life of Chuck, starring Tom Hiddleston, and it's an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, and I'm so used to Stephen King doing horror that I often forget he has a lot of books that are not horror, that are very much different than his normal horror genre. And this is very much a look at what it means to be alive. It's a very deep character piece about just existing in a world and how fortunate we are that we get to do that. And it's an outer body experience, or it's an outside version of us looking in. And it's meant to be a thought-provoking film. And I'm really excited to see what someone like Stephen King has to say about a genre like that. Tom Hiddleston's fantastic as Loki. He has not really gotten the chance to break out of that role and be in something where he's the lead that really blew up. Sure, Kong was a big success, but people showed up to see Kong, not Tom Hiddleston. So I'm really curious how his performance is going to be in this film. I'm really curious to see what the overall message is of it. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I'm a huge Tom Hiddleston fan. I am very excited about this. And Mike Flanagan's doing it, who did The Haunting of Bly Manor, The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, Doctor Sleep, and a bunch of other things that I really love, so I can't help but be excited. But I think that this movie is going to be a miss. No one's talking about it. No one knows what it is. All the people that I've talked to have never even heard of it. It's definitely a heady type of source material where it's kind of difficult to really pinpoint exactly what the story is about from the trailer, whereas in the trailer focuses on this one little boy and his evolution growing into Tom Hiddleston as an adult and why he's so special in the world that we live in. It has some really heady ideas, and I think that's going over a lot of people's head and it's putting them off of it. I do think this is one of those movies that's going to find great success on streaming, but as a movie in the theaters, I don't think it's going to be that big of a draw. I think it'll be a miss. The Materialists, a new film starring Chris Evans, Captain America, Pedro Pascal, Mr. Fantastic, and Dakota Johnson, Madam Web, where it is essentially the reverse Hitch, where she is playing a date doctor trying to get women to find the love of their life. Again, it's an A24 film, super low budget, but it's based off of a book apparently that's really popular. I'm going to go and see it because I love the cast and I love the movie Hitch. So if this is like a spiritual successor to that, I'm excited. But again, it's not a movie that I hear a lot of people talking about. I don't hear anybody talking about it. I'm the only person out of my group of friends, family, people I work with, even my buddy John doesn't know what this movie is. The biggest thing it has going for it is the cast, and maybe after Fantastic Four, this movie is going to have a bigger chance because people are going to want more Pedro Pascal, and people do love Dakota Johnson even because of her 50 Shades of Grey movies. So it really came close on this one. I was teetering back and forth, but ultimately I do think that this movie is going to be a hit just because of the star power behind it. You also got the market of women that love showing up to watch movies like this that don't normally go to every other movie I pretty much mentioned so far in this list. So I don't think that this movie is going to be a runaway success where it's going to make $300 million, but I think it'll be a modest success for A24. Then we got 28 Years Later, the third movie in the 28 franchise, directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, who's been doing great things lately like Warfare and Civil War. I'm really excited to see this film because I'm a big zombie fan and the cast is great. I love Jodie Comer. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. I love Ralph Fiennes, who's the greatest actor without an Oscar, in my opinion. This is such a creepy franchise, and Alex Garland and Danny Boyle know how to make a movie that scares the socks off you, so I'm going to show up to see it. Question is, are a lot of other people going to show up? And I think, yeah, after the really effective trailer they put out, everyone I know on the planet is talking about this movie. It's one of the only horror movies coming out this year that has this much publicity and eyes on it, and I think that this is going to be a huge success for Sony. So yeah, I think that this will be a hit. Then we got Megan 2.0, or you could call it Terminator 2, because that's essentially what this is. In Terminator 1, it was about a machine hunting Sarah Connor and trying to kill her. In Megan 1, it was about a machine hunting this little girl's mom and trying to kill her because she's programmed to protect this little girl and she thinks that the mother becomes a threat. Very Terminator-like. She kills a bunch of people in it. It's definitely played to be more of like an audacious, like over-the-top version of Terminator where it's this little girl doll that's killing people. It's almost comical. And in the sequel, they definitely leaned into the Terminator 2 aspect of it, where now this little doll is tasked with protecting this little girl again and her mother against another robot like the other Terminator in Terminator 2. And we even get the showdown between the two of them, between Megan and the other robot at the end of this, just like we got the showdown at the end of Terminator 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the other robot. They know what they're doing. They're very self-aware. It looks really fun, exciting, action-packed with really good violence. I love the Megan character. She's definitely unique, and Blumhouse definitely found themselves with a hit here. This movie is 100% going to make a lot of money. Everyone I know is raving about it. The trailer just did so well, and I can't imagine this movie's going to do anything but like $200-300 million. Then we got F1, the new movie starring Brad Pitt that's about the Formula One racing. This is produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who's done things like Pirates of the Caribbean, and he knows how to make a crowd-pleasing blockbuster movie, but the thing that gets me the most excited is that it's directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick, and the way he films vehicle combat or vehicles just in motion is so incredible. Putting the camera in the cockpit, putting it on the side of the car, not doing things green screen, making us feel like we're really there in the cockpit of this car or of this plane flying around the sky. It is so immersive and unlike anything you've ever gotten before in a movie, and it just is such a different experience in and of itself. It's like going to an amusement park and going on a roller coaster, but the movie version of that. And I think that because of that, a lot of people are going to show up to see this movie. Now, I don't think it has the mass appeal that a Top Gun Maverick did, where it's just this nostalgic ridden movie that everyone on the planet is going to show up to see because there's multiple generations that have grown up watching the first one. But I do think that this movie is going to be a success. I think it'll make anywhere between $400 to $500 million because, again, it's being billed as an event. And everyone saw Top Gun Maverick, so all of those people know this movie's coming, and I think that that's going to do this movie wonders when it comes out in theaters. Then we got Jurassic World Rebirth, and coming off the wild success of Wicked, we have Jonathan Bailey as one of the main characters here. We have Black Widow herself, Scarlett Johansson, and we have the Blade That Never Was in Mahershala Ali, who's a two-time Oscar-winning actor, being directed by the great Gareth Edwards, who prides himself in lower budgeted filmmaking, like The Creator, which was made for $80 million and looks like a $400 million movie. I have no doubt this movie is going to look incredible, but on top of that, Jurassic Park movies always make money because at the end of the day, people love watching dinosaurs eat people, and I have absolutely no doubt this movie is going to make north of $800 million. I would put a year's paycheck on it. This movie is going to be one of the biggest films of the summer, if not the biggest. I guarantee you that. Then we got Superman coming out in July, and I think that this movie is going to be a hit because, like I said in a video that I posted a week or so ago, not only do you have the haters showing up to watch this movie crash and burn, if it does, I'm not saying it will, but you got a lot of people that want to show up to see if it's even going to be any good, and you got all the Snyder fans that are showing up to poo-poo it, and then you got people that are just excited about Superman, and then you got the four-quadrant audience of kids and their parents wanting to bring them to this family-friendly superhero movie, and then you got the Superman fans, and then you also just got people that are sick of Marvel that want something new in the superhero world, and what James Gunn is doing is a lot different than Marvel, where Marvel have a lot of movies that take place in a grounded reality. It's New York. It's a place that we all know and love, that we see every day, and it's what would happen if these superheroes existed in our world. And James Gunn is trying to go the more fantastical route, the Silver Age comics, where it's these larger-than-life people battling these larger-than-life monsters in cities that are quite different from our own. And it's definitely going to be a lot more fantastical world that we're getting here, and it's something new. It's a breath of fresh air for superhero movies. And I'm not saying I'm sick of Marvel. I love Marvel. I can't wait to see Doomsday and Secret Wars. I love Thunderbolts. But I'm definitely glad that we're going to get a new type of superhero genre in James Gunn's universe. And with all of those things being said, I can't see this movie being a colossal failure because there's just too much interest in it. It was the most viewed trailer in Warner Brothers history. So clearly people are excited, and people have longed for that traditional Superman that stands for hope and is bright and optimistic. And that seems like that's what we're getting in James Gunn's new Superman. So I do think that this movie is going to make like $400 or $500 million, and I think it's going to be a hit for Warner Brothers and the movie theaters. Then we got I Know What You Did Last Summer, and although I love the original franchise, I'm very much in the camp of why are we getting this? Like, it kind of just seems like a cash grab, which at the end of the day, every movie is a cash grab. Every movie that comes out is a cash grab. They're all in the business of making money. But for this, it's like, are we just doing this because we want to make money and you're not giving us a good story? And then they drop the trailer, and they have the nostalgia baits where they're bringing Sarah Michelle Gellar back and Freddie Prinze Jr. And based off of just the trailer alone, it does kind of look like they're just giving us the same thing that we got the first time around, with nostalgic characters also in the mix. So I don't really know what the quality of this film is going to be, because it could have a great story with a message worth telling, worth reviving this franchise, or it could just be a movie that Sony's looking to make money on. Hey, it's a recognizable IP, people know the franchise, people love the whole multiverse saga in Marvel, where they want to show up and watch these characters they haven't seen in 20 years. This is a good opportunity for us to make a lot of money. That could be the case here. But what I do know is that a lot of people are talking about this movie. Everyone at work watched this trailer. Everyone at my job watched this trailer the second it dropped. I hear people talking about it and raving about it, and I hear people much older than me excited to see it because they grew up watching the original ones. So I do think that this movie is going to be a success, especially because it has a very small, modest budget. Then we have the Fantastic Four First Steps, which, like I said in a video prior, I do think that this movie has a bit of an uphill battle. It has the weight and baggage of the previous Fantastic Four films, which all of the ones we've gotten have never been good. The first two were cheesy, campy fun, but they're not good movies. And then the last one, Miles Teller, was such a disappointment. Marvel's not in the best spot that it was 5 years ago, where everything they put out makes $1 billion. Look at Captain America Brave New World. Look at Shang-Chi, The Eternals. These movies did not make more than $400 million, and if this movie isn't incredible with great word of mouth, I don't think this movie is going to make a lot of money. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be a hit. I don't think it's going to be a failure either, because there's too much riding on it leading into Doomsday and Secret Wars, where the Fantastic Four is playing such a huge part in that. And I think that if nothing else, people are going to show up to watch this because it's the last chapter before the big Avengers films, and you need to watch it to understand what's going on in Doomsday. So if nothing else, people are going to show up to watch it just to see how it leads into Doomsday, because Avengers Doomsday is going to make $1 billion, and putting this movie right before that is the biggest gift they could have given that movie in terms of it getting its success. So I do think it'll be a hit, but only a small one. Then we got a movie that I think looks incredibly funny, The Naked Gun sequel starring Liam Neeson, where he's playing the son of the titular character from the original franchise. And watching the trailer for this, I literally laughed out loud, and it was hysterical. And I don't think anyone's gonna show up to see it. I don't hear anyone talking about it. Everyone I ask about it, they're like, what? There's a new Naked Gun coming out? The advertisement for this film has been incredibly small. Comedy is also a touchy subject in our day and age. People are a lot more sensitive than they were 20 years ago, and the comedy that is required for a movie like this could be a little offensive to some people. I just see this movie going by the wayside and making like $20 million, and it's not gonna make any money. Although I want it to. I want movies like this to make a comeback because I miss the days of films like The Hangover where we were able to get a little offensive and make fun of each other and it be okay. But only time will tell. Maybe I'll be wrong, but where I stand, this movie's gonna be a flop. Then there's Freakier Friday. And look, I'm not the target audience for this. I seen the original when I was a kid growing up. It was all right, but at the end of the day, this movie has a lot of fans, especially with the mother-daughter audience demographic, where everyone I know that's a female grew up watching this film, and this is like their version of Deadpool and Wolverine. So I can't imagine this movie is going to be anything other than a smash success. Everywhere I look on the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, or X, or Threads, I see women raving about this. So I do think it's going to be a smash success with that demographic. I don't think it's going to be a billion-dollar film, but this movie was probably made for like $20 million, and it's definitely going to make like 100 to 150 million. So yeah, this movie's going to be a hit. Then we got Zach Cregger's Weapons, which I am deliriously excited about. I loved Barbarian. That was such a great breath of fresh air for the horror genre, and genuinely one of the last movies that literally had me sitting on the edge of my seat terrified. The trailers for this, where it's like a bunch of kids that all run out of their house and run into the night and disappear at the same exact time, is just so haunting, and how they're all running with their arms up like they're a plane. Like, when you say it out loud, it doesn't sound scary, but the way they present it in the trailer is so terrifying, and I'm so excited to see this. But again, I don't see anybody talking about it. The only person I know that knows it even exists, again, is my buddy John that I work with and that makes movies with me on the side. But outside of that, I just don't see anyone talking about it. Now, I have to imagine this movie was probably made for like $5 million, so it doesn't need to make a lot of money to break even. So if this movie can make like $20 to $30 million, it'll be successful, but I just don't think it will, unfortunately. It just doesn't have the buzz behind it that typically you would hear for a movie that's going to be successful, but maybe it'll prove me wrong, and I hope it does. Then we got Nobody 2, the Bob Odenkirk action film that's very much inspired by John Wick because it's from a producer of the John Wick movies, and I loved the first one, but it didn't make a lot of money, although that was because it was right out of the gates of the pandemic slowly coming to an end. And since then, it has found life on streaming services and became very popular and a fan favorite. So yeah, this movie is made for a really low budget, and because it has twice the eyes on it with people now knowing it even exists, I think that this movie is going to be a modest success. Yeah, I think it'll be a hit, but only by a little bit. And then we got Caught Stealing, which is Austin Butler's new film. For those of you who don't know, he was Elvis. He was also in Dune 2 as Fade Rotha. He was in The Bike Riders with Tom Hardy. And this is a Darren Aronofsky film, and there's a lot of attention on him after directing Brendan Fraser to his Oscar in The Whale 2 years ago. This is a new crime thriller that takes place in New York City in the 1990s, where Austin Butler plays an ex-baseball player that kind of gets mixed up with the wrong crowd and finds himself in a serious situation where he has to outrun some very dangerous people in Manhattan. And as excited as I am for this film, again, I can't see anyone showing up to see this film. Movies like this, unfortunately, just don't draw an audience anymore. Look at The Bike Riders. That movie was incredible. It's about a biker gang in like the 70s or 80s, and it had an ensemble cast like Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, Michael Shannon, Daryl Dixon, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. There were so many big names in that movie, and it made like $10 million at the box office. And The Whale itself didn't make a lot of money. So no, I don't think this movie is going to be successful. I think it's going to be a great film that will probably find an audience on the streaming services, but I don't think anyone's going to show up to see it in the movie theater, and I think it's going to be a miss. So anyway, guys, look, there's a lot of movies that are coming out this summer that I didn't name, but those are the movies that I think have the most eyes on it out of the 100 movies that are coming out, and what I think has a chance to be a hit this summer and what I think has a chance to be a flop this summer. Anyway, my list is all just my opinion. I could be wrong, I could be right, but in the 33 years I've been going to the movies, I think I have a pretty good idea of what movies are going to do good and what movies are going to do bad, but maybe you guys think differently. If you heard any names that I mentioned on this list that you think might be a flop where I said it'll be a hit, or maybe you think that it'll be a hit where I said it'll be a flop, I'd love to talk about it in the comment down below and have a friendly conversation about it. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought thought about this list. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. If you like this stuff, please give me a like and a subscribe so I could keep bringing you more content like this. The more this channel grows, I'm going to start doing live videos with you guys where I could take questions and answers and we could actually have a conversation about the things we all love, movies. Anyway, let's talk about it in the comments down below, guys. And as always, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time.